grab a seat. How's everyone doing tonight? Alright, good. I'm glad. Welcome to the second to last meeting of the quarter. I know a little bit of sweet. It's exciting. The quarter's almost over. The year has definitely flown by, and we're so happy that you all are here. In case this is your first time joining the crew, a special welcome to you. Thank you for coming. And just so you know, Crew is a Christian group here on campus with the mission to give everyone a chance to hear, understand, and respond to the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's the vision here at Crew. That's what we're all about. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Just by way of introduction, my name is Andrew Dupal. I'm a third-year psychology major. I know a lot of you probably know that by now, but I just say it every time because it's nice. All right, well, being the second to last meeting, hopefully we're all pretty friendly by now. So I want you all to stand up and just say hi to someone around you and talk to someone for a second. All right, let's grab our seats. Try to make your way back to your seats. All right, awesome. Good to see everyone hanging out, joining one another. So, just typical, we have some normal stuff going on. Next week is the last week of Bible studies. In case you didn't know, we will not have Bible studies or through during finals week. So, a lot of you have finals, a lot of you freshmen have to move out of doors until what, like Thursday or Friday? Yeah, you guys to get things out pretty quick. So, we're not going to have Bible study during final week. So, next week is the last week of studies, last week of crew, okay? Thursday, Friday. Next week is the last Thursday, Friday. So if you haven't gone out, I really encourage you to go out, check out Thursday, Friday at the Hutch at 3 o'clock. Last one of the year, it's going to be great. The weather's really been warming up, so it'll be a lot of fun. All right. So we've announced this a couple times since a few date changes. It's been a little confusing. But Mission 316 Friday is this coming Friday. So tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow the 31st. Is that what? Yes, it says it up there. All right, we're all together now, so it's a little confusing, but we're good to go. May 31st, tomorrow. It's a good time to bring some of your friends who maybe aren't in the fellowship and have them meet all your friends in this fellowship and in DCF and IB and College Life and all the other groups. So come on out tomorrow. It's on the quad, 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock. Just hang out, do some snacks and some like frisbees and that kind of stuff. So go on out there tomorrow. Okay, so the sad part, I announced that the talent show is unfortunately been canceled. I know, you all saw, but like no one signed up to perform, so it's gonna be like a no man talent show. So we had like one person sign up. So if you wanna see a one person talent show, you should talk to that person and have them do their talent for you. But unfortunately, the talent show got canceled. I know a lot of you guys have to study for finals, so people are pretty busy. So I'm sorry if you're looking forward to it. Just go on YouTube and type in like talent show. There'll probably be some cool stuff to watch. And then this is really exciting. This is the first time we've ever done this. So if you're talking to your friends, you need to be quiet now. Okay. Ooh, oh my God, I feel really guilty now for doing that. All right. So next Thursday is the last crew meeting of the year. I know, super sad. I know, but crew will be back next quarter. But to kick off our summer and to send us into summer on a good note, we're gonna have crew. Get this, 7 o'clock, so an hour earlier. It's gonna be out at the park over by Yoleberry at Centennial Park. Okay. And it's going to be a dessert potluck. And it's just going to be a huge hangout, like party time, 7 o'clock, out of the park, across the street from YOLO. Bring some dessert. It's going to be fun to kick off our summer and hopefully give everyone something like fun to do before finals start and everyone's like really sad. So, come on out, 7 o'clock next week. If you come here, it's going to be real empty and real quiet. If you want to study, that's good. If you want to hang out with friends, it's bad. So, come to the park at 7 o'clock, bring some dessert. Someone needs to bring those like white cookies with pink frosting. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? You either hate them or you love them. We love them. We love them. All right, yeah, that's right. They're so good. I'll bring those. Someone said just sugar. It's like that's a bad thing. I mean, that's a great thing. Okay, so see you guys there next week. Last crew meeting of the quarter. It's not too late to bring some friends. Everyone loves dessert, hanging out at the park. So bring some friends. Have a fun time. Okay, that's it as by way of announcements. It's kind of the end of the quarter. We don't have really too many things to announce. But daviscrew.com has all the information of what's going on. Keep an eye on that for any things that are going on for the summer as well. So a lot of us, raise your hand if you'll be here for the summer. I'm going to be here. We're definitely going to still be able to hang out, maybe do like an on-campus Bible study or something like that. So there'll be stuff to do. So keep an eye on the website for more information. Okay, so being the second to last meeting of the year, we do something real fun now for the activity. I know a lot of you guys don't like to volunteer and like get a little embarrassed and stuff like that. That's understandable. But this is an everyone's involved kind of thing. So we're going to split the room right down the middle. So we're going to Adam, stand up. If you're on Adam's left, walk towards the wall. If you're on Adam's right, walk towards that wall.
Adam, stay right there.
All right. So here's what's going to work. Straight down. All right, so Iris is going to pass out a bag full of glow sticks to the side, and Emma is going to pass out a bag full of glow sticks to the side. When the music starts, listen, tight ways. When the music starts, you can throw them to the other side, okay? This is the line down the middle. You can't pass the line like straight down the middle, alright? Whichever side has the most glow sticks at the end loses, alright? So when some lights up, it's going to get a little crazy. When the music starts, you can draw them when it stops, when it stops. If you cheat, I'm going to catch you. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so 5, really good. And pass it to the front. Don't cheat. Hey now. Alright, everyone's good. Nothing to do? All right. Okay. Let's see what we got. And the winners are that time. Friendly competition. Alright, everyone's a winner, but hopefully, yeah! Alright, bring it back in. I know it's really exciting. Hang up on your bed, your dorm, and you can play with it tonight. Don't put it with me. Okay, great. We're going to transition into something a little more on the serious side. Yeah, hey, well, let's take one up here. Especially at the community spotlight, which is happening next. And don't throw those together, but we are going to have Candace. We're going to
Yeah, Candace. Can you hear me? Yeah, am I too quiet? Okay. So I apologize in advance that I'm too quiet. Yeah, I'm Candace. I'm a second year biochemistry student, and I plan on going to pharmaceutical when I'm older. And a lot of you probably recognize me from the welcome table. So, hi. Sorry. But yeah, basically we talk about how God has kind of blessed me this quarter with my academic plans and my career goals. Yeah, as college students, we pretty much know that everyone handles stress a little bit differently. Some people are really good with handling it and they're totally fine with being under pressure. And some people are just really bad, they freak out, and I'm one of the latter. I don't handle stress at all, very well at all. So, yeah, when I have a lot of pressure on me, I kind of freak out and it tends to kind of break down. So, one of the biggest sources of anxiety in my life has been school. And yeah, from a young age, I was pretty much taught that school is really important. That's important to go to school and do well in school, so you can go to college, so you can get a good job, so you can be successful. So like that was pretty much what I was taught when I was younger. Yeah, so a lot of my life was spent kind of preparing for my career in the future, preparing for college. So when I came into college, I pretty much knew right away what I was going to do. Like most kids kind of come in and they kind of explore. Like I knew straight in from like the bat that I needed to get a research position at a certain time. I needed to get an internship. I needed to become buddy with my professors so I could get a letter of recommendation, and I needed to maintain a high GPA so I could get to the best pharmaceutical. So there wasn't a lot of pressure freshman year except for grade-wise, but it was mainly about getting acquainted with college life and living away from home. But as I started ending freshman year, my grades started to slip, and so my GPA went down. But I wasn't too worried because I ended up sophomore year. I still had 2 more years to bring up my GPA before I started applying to school. So I knew that I could probably hopefully bring up my GPA. But sophomore year rolled around, and I had that plan in mind of bringing up my GPA and then starting to get interested and reaching positions. But despite applying for jobs, like university jobs and IT jobs, like I literally just like sent my resume out to people. I got one reply, and it was for an internship that I interviewed for, didn't get. So it was a little bit discouraging, and to make things worse, my GPA kind of dropped a little bit more during my fall quarter. So I had gone from a little bit like a state level to a not so state level of having a my GPA. So, but again, I wasn't too scared. You know, I figured winter quarter would be better, and it came. And again, I hadn't gotten an internship yet. My GPA probably did even lower because of OCHEM. So that is the killer. And yeah, and it wasn't until about the end of winter quarter where I actually came. I realized like there was a chance that I wouldn't get into pharmacy school, and I didn't really know what I was going to do if I didn't get it. I didn't really have any career plans outside of that. Like I could have done research maybe, but it was pretty much set on me going to school after school. Like I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to take a gap year. I didn't know how to like just work. Like I was planning on going to school, and I knew that I needed to get an internship. I knew that I needed to do all these things because I wouldn't get into pharmacy if I did. And I began to like freak out a little bit. And one day, just right before organic chemistry, I was sitting outside and typing on my iPod, and I was just like, I'm really worried about my future. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And yeah, so that day I had discipleship. And so I kind of talked to people, and as I was walking discipleship, I kind of like realized like God's got it under control. It's gonna be okay. And like I knew in my mind that it was gonna be okay, but I didn't really think it was gonna pan out the way it did. So to like put things in perspective, like in a timeline, I actually have a note on my iPod like right now, but I wrote it on March 4th. So that was Monday. 2 days later, I was in physics. And this girl next to me was signing, like, was on the computer, and she was looking at the Internship and Career Center website. And for if you don't know, the Internship and Career Center is like this building on campus, and it helps you get internships and careers. And my roommate had been looking at that earlier, and so that's how I got the whole internship thing into my head. And so I asked the girl, like, oh, is it too late to sign up? And she was like, no, like, you can totally sign up right now. And they have this really awesome thing for health majors, or health and science, like, majors. So for any of you guys who are like interested in like medical school or something, check out the ICC. There's like, it's pretty much like you sign up and they give you like a slot time, and then you sign up for an internship. So it's pretty much like a quick and easy way to get an internship with like having to do the whole resume and interview process. So yeah, so basically the pastimes are all random. So you can sign up as early as you want when the sign in, like when you're about to sign up, but the pastimes, you can get like the latest pastime, even if you're the first one to sign up. And so the girl that was next to me, she signed up, she got Saturday. So it was kind of bad because it opened up on a Thursday. So I was signed up on a Wednesday. The next day was when you could actually like sign up for your specific like internship, like pick what you wanted. So she got Saturday, which means that there were 2 days for everyone pretty much to get whatever they wanted. So I signed up not really like expecting anything. And by God's grace, I got Thursday at 9 o'clock a.m. So pretty much the morning that it opened. So I was guaranteed an internship. So basically in the course of 2 days, God handed me like an internship. It was kind of like, and it was a pharmaceutical internship too, of all. So God was kind of just like, hey, don't worry about this, I got this, like, so it was really amazing, but like, he didn't stop there either. This quarter, I went into the pharmacy advising center just to talk to someone because that's kind of who I am. I need to have a plan, as you can kind of tell from my story. I do have a plan, I do have a plan for pharmacy school, but and she was just like, hey, if there's an internship that we're currently looking for people to apply to, like, here's an application, fill it out. And so after going through the previous, like putting my resume out there, my resume wasn't that great in high school. I just didn't do service or anything or have a job. So it was pretty much just like my GPA and maybe like some stuff I did in middle school and like the boxes that I needed. So it wasn't that great. But so based on based on my previous job search and internship search, like I didn't expect to get anything from get called back or anything like that. And so I didn't really put myself into it that much. I figured out what happened to happen, whatever. But I did. I got a call back, and they wanted to interview. And most interviews are really scary for me. Like this right now is kind of scary for me, but I'm doing okay. But like talking to people where it's like serious, and I know that I'm going to screw up, and it's not good if I screw up, then that scares me a lot. So interviews are normally very scary, but for some reason this interview was okay. Like I knew all the answers to most of the questions, and if I didn't know the answers to the questions, it wasn't too big of a deal. And it was more of a scenario based too, so that was really But yeah, I figured there are a lot of people who are more qualified than I was, knew the answers better than I did, but I felt good about it. And about a couple days later, the girl called me and was like, hey, you got the position, like, congrats. So that was all God also, like, it was just crazy to think that, like, in the course of 2 months, basically, God had given me 2 internships that would completely help boost my resume and for, our school. And, like, looking back at my iPod, like, I still have the note on here, and so I can see it, and I just look at how worried I was about my future and how scared I was, and then looking now, like, how secure I am, like, God is pretty much just taking, like, all my fears and all my worries, and, like, kind of just like, hey, Candace, don't worry about this. I totally got this. Like, here's an internship. You're gonna be fine. Like, you're in my hands. And so it's amazing. Like, as we're ending the school year, like, there's so many different unknown things for the future. There's so many people who need to get jobs and stuff like this. There's like, it doesn't, you don't need to worry about it because God's got it under control. So, yeah. So I hope that was kind of helpful.
Thanks a lot, Candace. And great. And so now we have the last talk for the quarter. We're going to round out the talk series. Francis is going to come on down and do our last talk for 2013. How's everybody doing? Anybody really tired? All right, pretty much the whole room. All right. Well, as many of you know, there are many misconceptions out there about a lot of things in the Bible. If you talk to non-Christians, even among Christians, there's a lot of misconceptions, whether it's who Jesus is, whether it's how to be saved, through faith or through works. We know it's by faith, but a lot of people feel that it is by works. A lot of misconceptions about hell. Many misconceptions about how to take the Bible, whether you take it literally or not. There are a lot of misconceptions, but as I talk to people, I think one of the biggest ones is actually about heaven. And things like, what's it going to be like? Can we even know much about it? Does it even matter if we know anything about what it's going to be like? And so there are a couple cartoons I have up here just to show some common misconceptions about heaven. Yes. The first one. That one I feel is probably one of the more common ones. Okay. And honestly, I've heard a lot of misconceptions. One of the biggest ones, I think, is that it's going to be boring. Heaven is going to be boring. There's a pastor and an author named Randy Alcorn. Maybe some of you have heard of him. He actually wrote a book called Heaven, which I've been reading. It's really good. And he tells this story in the book. He says, a pastor once confessed to me, this is a quote, and pastor, keep this in mind, whenever I think about heaven, it makes me depressed. I'd rather just cease to exist when I die. His reason was this: I can't stand the thought of that endless tedium, to float around in the clouds with nothing to do but strum a harp. It's also terribly boring. Heaven doesn't sound much better than hell. I'd rather be annihilated than spend eternity in a place like that. Annihilated means cease to exist. That's from a pastor. Okay, he thinks heaven is going to be boring. Another misconception I think about heaven is that it's going to be a continual worship service. Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. And by the way, for me, I sometimes fall into that misconception that heaven is going to be boring, so you know. So it's going to be a continual worship service. John Eldridge, who is an author, he wrote Wild at Heart. He says this: nearly every Christian I have spoken with has some idea that eternity is an unending church service. We have settled on an image of the never-ending sing-along in the sky, one great hymn after another, forever and ever, amen. and our hearts sink. Forever and ever, that's it. That's the good news. And then we sigh and feel guilty that we are not more spiritual. We lose heart, and we turn once more to the present to find what life we can. So it's boring, it's a continual church service, and I think another one that we really fall into a lot is we can't know much about it. The Bible doesn't talk much about it, so we really shouldn't focus on it. And I think as a result of these misconceptions, heaven is a topic that we don't really talk about too much. I don't know about you, but I don't know that I've ever heard a sermon on heaven. Some of you probably have. I've been going to church since I was old enough to remember my dad was a pastor. I don't think I've ever heard a sermon on heaven. Or if I have, I don't remember it. Or a Bible study or a talk. There's a problem with this, because if you're a Christian, we are actually commanded to focus on heaven. It's part of what we're called to do. Matthew 6, 19 through 21 says that. This is Jesus speaking, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust or vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So our heart is to be in heaven, storing up things there. Colossians 3, 1 through 4, this is Paul. He says, since then you have been raised with Christ, set your heart on things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. And then it's kind of like a double command. He says it again. This time with your mind though. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory. And then 2 Corinthians, also Paul, 4, 17 and 18. He says, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So we are to fix our eyes on eternal things, not just temporary things. We're to focus on heaven. And we are called to look forward to it, but how can we do that if we don't really know what we're supposed to look forward to? It's hard for me to focus on something if I don't know what it's about or what it's going to be like. And I believe that God has actually given us a lot of information of what heaven is like, more than you might think. And he has given us this information so that we will look forward to it. As I have studied this topic, I have gotten more excited about heaven, and it has been a huge encouragement to me, and I hope the same is true for you. Because the more we look forward to heaven, the more we make the most of our time here on earth. Let me pray for us. Lord, as we talk about heaven tonight, I do think it's such an important topic, and it's one that you've called us to focus on and to pursue with our minds and our actions even here on this earth. And I just pray that it would come alive to people tonight. It would be an encouragement. It would challenge people to think of it in the right way. God, I just pray that you give me the words to say through your Holy Spirit. Give me boldness and love and just a deep love for you and a deep love for others as I give this talk tonight. And I pray ultimately that people would be pointed towards you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so the question is, what is heaven like? Randy Elkhorn says this. Very interesting. He says it bears repeating because it is so commonly misunderstood. When we die, believers in Christ will not go to the heaven where we'll live forever. Instead, we'll go to an intermediate heaven. In that heaven, where those who died covered by Christ's blood are now, will await the time of Christ's return to the earth, our bodily resurrection, the final judgment, and the creation of a new heaven and new earth. If we fail to grasp this truth, we fail to understand the biblical doctrine of heaven. So the place where our spirit goes now, if we were to die, is not the place where we are going to spend eternity. So keep that in mind. Now, let me just give you an example to illustrate it. Okay, so let's just say that you, in a couple years or in a couple weeks, for some of you, okay, you graduate from UC Davis. I hope eventually it's true for everybody. You're going to graduate from UC Davis. So you graduate, and you're still living in Davis with your roommate. Okay, you got an apartment here. Maybe this is very typical for some of you, and you're looking for a job. Okay,
it's about a year down the road, okay? And you don't want to live with your parents, so you're still living with your roommate here at Davis. Things are kind of getting tight, you're kind of getting tired of each other, and financially you're starting to struggle. You're down to like maybe your last month or two in rent, and you can't find a job anywhere. And someone comes to you, an employer, and you put your resume out there and they say, I'm going to hire you. And it's your dream job. You're making as much money as you can dream of. And you're going to Hawaii for your job. Okay, now, wherever the ideal place is for you, just imagine, when I say Hawaii, I think it's the ideal place you would want to live. Okay? So, you have a job in Hawaii, making an insane amount of money. They're also giving you a mansion right on the beach. A beautiful, beautiful house right on the beach in Hawaii. Okay? And a company car, and not only that, but your favorite friends and family are also going to be living near you. Okay? It's like the ideal world. Okay? Now, you're going to fly out of Sacramento, so you're about ready to fly to Hawaii, you get your plane ticket, you're going to fly out of Sacramento, and you have a layover in San Francisco. Okay, so Sacramento, San Francisco, then you're going to Hawaii. And this layover is like 2 hours long, okay? And you're going to meet some friends there, so it's going to be fun. They're going to say goodbye to you. And there's a nice restaurant in the airport, so you're looking forward to that. And you might even say that, let's just go crazy, say you can hang out in the VIP lounge for those 2 hours, okay? So when one of your friends back in Davis, they see you packing your suitcase, and they're like, hey, where are you going? You're not going to say, oh, I'm going to San Francisco, right? You're going to say, I'm going to Hawaii. Okay, that's what you're going to tell them. And when you go online to look at all the cool things you can do in Hawaii, the beaches, the restaurants, you're probably not going to also go online and check out the San Francisco airport. Okay, probably not. Your focus is on Hawaii, not San Francisco. Similarly, the heaven we will go to when we die, the present heaven, is a temporary dwelling place, a stop along the way to our final destination, the new heaven and the new earth, where we will spend eternity. And in reality, there's not a whole lot said about the current heaven, which makes sense if it's a short layover. So tonight I'm going to focus on the new heaven and the new earth, which will be our permanent home starting when Jesus comes back for the second time. We will be there for all of eternity. So in order to look ahead of what it's going to be like, we have to start actually by looking back. Okay? So go back, beginning of creation, beginning of human beings. Okay? So God creates Adam and Eve in the garden in Genesis, and creates them perfectly, creates a paradise around them. And of course, they sinned. It doesn't take them long, probably, we don't know, but they sinned. And as a result of that sin, there's a curse. Okay? And so 3 things basically happened as a result of the curse. One is that work became really hard. Okay? And for those of you that are studying for finals pretty soon, you understand that. Usually it's not very fun to study for finals, it's work. Okay? So work was hard. It was going to be painful. 2, childbirth was going to be painful. Okay, so all of you ladies out there, I'm really sorry, but it's going to be really painful. And then the last thing that happened was physical death. So Adam, God says, from the dust you came. He made Adam from the dust, to the dust you return. There's physical death. And there's also, of course, spiritual death, which means spending eternity away from God and what the Bible talks about as hell. Now, the Bible is very clear about hell, and I'm not going to spend much time on it. But it does say it's an eternal punishment, just like heaven will be eternal, we are eternal beings. Hell will also be forever. It also says there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, which means that it's going to be painful. And it also talks about that it's the place where we are separated from God. And God is everything that is good. So we are separated from everything that is good. Now, on our own part, we cannot do anything about this. We cannot make up for it and gain a right relationship with God again. God, however, made a way. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I do want to address this. If you do have problems or questions about hell, because it is a reality, please come and talk to me afterwards. I would love to talk more or even address some questions you have, even if you're just struggling with it. I would love to do that. So sin enters the world, and death through sin. And then here's where it gets really interesting. God does something to start fixing the problem. And remember, we can't do it ourselves. But what he does is surprising, and it's brilliant, and it's probably not what you're expecting him to say. So here's what he does. It's Genesis 3, 22 through 24. This is when he kicks him out of the Garden of Eden. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil, because he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat. And that's the key, and live forever. So the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. So God really does not want Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of life. It's pretty clear. Why? Verse 22. Because if they did eat from the tree of life, they would live forever in their sinful state. So God was actually being merciful by allowing man to die physically. Otherwise, we would live under the curse of sin and its consequences forever. We would always be in a fallen world with no way out. God allowed Adam and Eve to die so they and all mankind would have a way out from under the curse. And of course, that way out was what Jesus provided. He took the penalty of sin on himself, which is death. Galatians 3:13 says this: Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us, for it is written, "Cursed is everyone who is hanged on a tree." So Jesus took the curse on himself by living the perfect life and then dying in our place in order for us to be made right with God again. Now, if you're a Christian and you've accepted Jesus' death on the cross, you are renewed spiritually, and you will be renewed physically from the consequences of the curse. So when you die, your soul goes to the current heaven. When Jesus comes back and sets up the new earth, heaven and earth, your current body will be reunited with your soul and made perfect. It's still your body though. So when my body, if I'm cremated, if I die and decompose in the ground, that body is going to be reunited with my soul. And I'm still going to be Francis. You're still going to recognize me as Francis, just like I'm going to recognize you. And the reason we know that is because Jesus, his resurrected body, they still recognized him as Jesus. He still had the nail marks in his hands, still had him in his feet. They still knew him as Jesus, even in I can't think of the word, resurrected body. So our new body will still be us, just a much better version of it. It will be imperishable, glorious, and powerful, fit to live eternally with God. If you want to read about this new body, it's a great description of it in 1 Corinthians 13. Here's where it gets kind of crazy and kind of cool. It's not just our bodies that are renewed. It's going to be the same thing with the new heaven and the new earth. Anthony Kokima, who's a minister and a theologian, says this: because of man's fall into sin, a curse was pronounced over this creation. God now sent his Son into this world to redeem that creation from the results of sin. The work of Christ, therefore, is not just to save certain individuals, not even to save an innumerable throng of blood-bought people. The total work of Christ is nothing less than to redeem this entire creation from the effects of sin. Creation. That purpose will not be accomplished until God has ushered in the new earth, until paradise lost has become paradise regained. So the earth we see now is not just going to be destroyed and started again from scratch. It's actually going to be renewed and remade, just like our body. Romans 8:19-23 says this: now if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed to us. Yeah. Then he says this: for the creation, everything created, waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. He's talking about our new body. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. So everything is in decay right now, everything is dying, but that's going to be reversed. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption to sonship, the redemption of our body. So when God recreates us, he recreates everything. We, people, and the created earth are forever linked. The fall affected not just us, but everything on earth. It affected animals, it affected fish, it affected trees, plants, mountains. I would even say that the whole universe was affected by the fall. And so when people ask me sometimes, okay, if you could go back in time and view one event in history or one biblical event, what would you view? And I almost always say the fall, because I think it would be so fascinating to see everything in its perfect state. Adam and Eve, the world, plants, animals. I mean, I don't know what it was like, the universe. And then when they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, to see what happened, to see everything die, to see everything change. I don't know if it was a cataclysmic event. I don't know. But if you think about it, the universe is decaying. The stars are dying. The sun only lasts for a certain amount of time. It's like that with everything. Jesus didn't just die to save us from the consequences of sin. He died to reverse the damage done to the entire universe. So instead of imagining heaven that we're going to spend eternity in, up in the clouds somewhere, imagine it here in a newly restored, refurbished earth. So back to that example I gave of getting that amazing dream job in Hawaii. Okay, so this is actually probably a more biblical picture of what heaven's going to be like. So you're back here in Davis, can't find a job, you're living with people you don't like, in a shabby apartment, and somebody says, hey, I'm giving you a dream job, but this time, instead of going to Hawaii, so you go to San Francisco, instead of going to Hawaii, you go on your layover to San Francisco, and then you come back to Davis. But when you come back, everything has been completely renovated. You have a new house instead of a shabby apartment, and you live with people that you enjoy this time. Your close friends and family are there, and you live with them in perfect relationship. The city of Davis has been expanded and improved with new buildings everywhere, miles of gardens and rivers. Nothing is old or worn down. Nothing decays. It's crime-free. It's sin-free. And people celebrate God and live in perfect harmony with each other. You wouldn't live in a different place, just a radically improved version of your old home. Radically. This is what the Bible promises us. We will live with God and each other forever. Not in the intermediate heaven, but on the new, renovated earth where God will live with his people. So what is this new heaven and new earth going to be like? I think it will have a lot of similarities to the things that we enjoy here. But with the physical presence of God and the absence of sin and everything associated with it. Many of the things we enjoy here, relationships, music, art, literature, education, work, because sometimes we do enjoy work, sports, rest, are all things that we enjoy because we were made that way by God. The fall corrupted how we experience many of these things, but in their essence, they are given to us as a gift to enjoy from a creative God. I would say they even point us to God and should cause us to worship him more. I think we will continue to enjoy them in the next world, but they will be even better because they won't be marred with corruption. Now you might be saying, well, these are all like kind of external things. It shouldn't just be about God. And I think it is about God, but it's also about the things he gives us because they are an extension of him. So for instance, when I give Jennifer, I was going to use Jaden as an example, but it's not true. So when I give Jennifer a gift, okay, she doesn't just love this gift because of the gift itself. She loves it because I gave it to her. And as her husband, I her the gift and see the joy in her face and be like, you shouldn't enjoy that so much. No, I'm like, enjoy it. It's from me. It's a gift from me. It's an extension of me. Enjoy it. I think it's the same with God. I think we can think of these things as bad things because they're not God himself. But God has given us everything to enjoy. And I think we can miss that a lot of times. So I want to look very quickly, maybe not quickly, but at things of what the new heaven and new earth are going to be like. And then I'm going to open it up, actually, for a question and answer time. And you guys, if you have questions about heaven, I will do my best to answer them. So you can even be thinking about that right now. But I want to mention 3 things that are really cool about the new heaven or that the Bible talks about. And the first thing is that it's going to be a big city. Now, I don't know if you guys like cities or not. I love them. But, next verse is Revelation 21:10 and then 15 through 17. It says this. And he, is the angel, I believe, carried me as John who wrote the book. Oh, then he carried me away in the spirit to a mountain great and high, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. And then verse 15 through 17. The angel who talked with me had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city, its gates and its walls. It's insane how huge this thing is. The city was laid out like a square, as long as it was wide. He measured the city with a rod and found it to be 1,400 miles. And it says 12,000 stadia. That works out to 1,400 miles. 1,400 miles in length and as wide and high as it is long. The angel measured the wall using human measurements. It was about 144 cubits thick, and I can't remember how big that is. But so if you look at these measurements, I wish I could have a picture, but if you have a picture of the U.S., this city literally almost takes up the whole United States, but it's a square. It goes from I think it's the Appalachian Mountains all the way to practically the West Coast. Just boom, right in the middle of the United States, it takes up everything. It's huge, okay? But what are cities like? And there's a possibility that this is not literal, just so you know that. I believe it is. It doesn't mean it is. But even when in the Bible they use things like this that aren't necessarily literal, they're still pointing to something that is literal. Just keep that in mind. But what are cities about? Cities are full of people, and architecture, and culture, and fun things to do. And if it's that big, I can't even imagine how many fun things to do there would be. So when I imagine this city, here's what I think of. The crazy thing is it's not just 1,400 miles wide and long, it's 1,400 miles high. That's crazy. So what I picture it as, this is just me, okay? I picture it as having levels, okay? Levels in heaven, because it's so huge. And so I picture of having for instance, a level full of coffee shops, okay? And I can go in there, and I can have coffee with Jesus. How fun would that be? Or I can have coffee with Moses. And be like, hey, what was it like? We have eternity, right? Or I can have, coffee with David, whoever it is, or one of you, one of my closest friends. It's going to be so cool. Okay. I picture another level, just me, having jungles. Okay, because I love jungles. Where I can watch tigers and lions and all these really cool animals in their natural habitat without having to worry about being killed by them. Or one level is the ocean, and I can go in there and there's all these amazing sea creatures, and I don't have to worry about drowning. Okay. Or another level with higher learning. Think about that, because I don't think we're going to stop learning or know everything when we get there, because only God is all knowing. Or one of them with all these beautiful museums full of art, because art is so beautiful here, but imagine people painting or doing sculptures in a world that's not fallen. How amazing their talent would be. Or taking hanging out with my family at a Broadway play. Or museums, or a level, and this is my favorite, a level to go back in time and view biblical events. So I can go back and I can look at Moses parting the Red Sea. I can go back and I can see Jesus' death and resurrection, or I can see Adam and Eve, see the fall. Whatever I want to see. Maybe there'll be a movie room. I don't know. These are just my thoughts. It's going to be world-class restaurants there, okay? These are just my thoughts. I'm just saying use your imagination because this is the city, and when we think about cities here, these are the things that are currently in cities. And the things that we think about sometimes are fallen, but these will not. Now, those of you that don't like cities, which I understand, I love them, you need a little nature. Actually, it talks about the city of God, this city, having trees and a river. And if you think about, well, it's still in the city, but if you've ever been in New York City, Central Park is huge. Okay, it feels like you're not even in New York City anymore. It's so big. So if you're a nature lover, there will be plenty to do. There will be plenty to explore. And this is just the city. The rest of the earth has tons of crazy things that we can do in terms of nature. But I think it'll be a place of culture, learning about God, a place to grow closer with each other, and many other things. Now, the first chapter of Genesis, the first two chapters of Genesis are actually paralleled in a lot of ways with the last two chapters of Revelation. It's really cool. The Bible starts with a lot of the same things that it ends with. I encourage you to read that at some point. But here, in the beginning of Genesis, is the tree of life. We end in we end in Revelation, and it's not up here, but with a tree of life being in the city. So it starts with the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and then in Revelation it talks about the tree of life being in the city. The next thing we're going to do, that's the city, is, reign with them. And this is Revelation 22:5 and 2 Timothy 2:12. And it says, there will be no more night. They will not need the light of the lamp or the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light. And they will reign forever and ever. That's one of the things we are going to do. And then this is also from 2 Timothy 2:12. It says, if we endure, we will also reign with him. We are going to reign with God in the new heaven. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I don't know if certain people have people under them that they're in charge of. I don't know. They said they were going to reign with him, which makes sense. Because if you're ruling over something, that means you're working. And I think we'll be in charge of things. And it makes sense because Adam and Eve were also made to work and be in charge of things. They were in charge over the animals and the world in general, to cultivate it. God has made us to find great pleasure in working and accomplishing things. In Genesis 1, Adam was commanded to rule over all the creatures of the earth as well as the ground. Now, if you're thinking, okay, I don't want to rule over anything, or I don't want to be in charge, okay, I understand that. But think about this. It won't be marred by greed. There will be no more people not obeying authority. There will be no more fear in leading. There will be no more gossip or bad work environment. Our jobs will be something we love that will bring us great satisfaction. And we know that because it says there will be no more pain in the new heaven and earth. And oftentimes there's pain, and there is pain at work now, but there will not be in the new earth. So again, in Genesis 1, man was asked to rule, and in Revelation 22, man is again asked to rule. And then the last thing is we are going to be with God. Revelation 21:1-5. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture. And as a side note, earlier in Revelation, when it mentions God dwelling with his people, he is dwelling with people from every tribe, every nation, and every tongue. No one in Jesus is excluded from being with God. And that is one of the reasons why it's so important to tell others about him, so they too can experience the greatness of God and the wonders of heaven for eternity, instead of experiencing separation from him. Now, if you're honest, I'm not going to raise your hand. Do you sometimes think that it will be boring to be with God? I sometimes do, and I'm sure many of you do. But here's why it will not be boring, okay? Think about the most interesting person you know. Okay, have that person in your mind, the most interesting person you know that actually brings you life. You enjoy hanging out with them, they're complex and fun and just encourage you. God designed that person. Now think about something that brings you great satisfaction, such as traveling, learning maybe, it could be video games, it could be family, sports, reading, adventure. Think about something that you find great pleasure in. God either made it or gave us the ability to create it. I've been married to my wife Jennifer for 8 years, almost 9, and I can say, after almost 9 years of marriage, that I still don't understand a lot about her. I'm still learning new things about her. She's a very complex person, okay? And the reality is, we're all complex, right? I'm complex. I'm learning things about myself sometimes. I'm like, I didn't know that, It's just the way we're made. So if we are this complex, and we are made by God, imagine how complex God is. Not only is he the source of good things, but he is also the source of infinite good things. In other words, he's limitless. He's endless in his goodness. He is infinite. We are finite. Part of why it will be so fun and exciting to be with him is because we can literally feast on getting to know his goodness and creativity and beauty forever. We will never run out of questions to ask God or grow weary of listening to him and sharing his knowledge with us. God is the source of everything that we find fascinating, and he will complete us. In Psalm 16:11, David said this, not up there, but he said, it's a great verse, Psalm 16:11. You have made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Joy in your presence with eternal pleasures at your right hand. If that is true, we are going to be so joyful and happy to be with God, the creator of everything good. So in Genesis 1 and 2, God dwells with sinful man. In Revelation 21 and 22, God dwells with sinless, redeemed man. Means we've been bought back with Christ. How you view heaven will influence how you live now. If you have a poor view of heaven, you are more susceptible to idolatry, worshiping other things besides God, because if God isn't satisfying, then you will seek satisfaction in other lesser things. A poor view of heaven means that you probably won't devote your life to eternal things. Instead, it will be easy to get wrapped in material wealth, earthly success, power, and a self-focused life. A poor view of heaven means fear of death, a lack of joy in following God now, and a hopelessness. But a higher, accurate view of heaven results in a much different outcome. If we believe that God is the author of everything good here and in the future, we will pursue God more in things like reading the Bible, prayer, because we want to know this amazing God better. It means a life lived to further God's purposes, so that we are not persuaded by wealth or entertainment or comfort or pleasure apart from God. We can give of ourselves fully, to live sacrificially, and take steps of faith, because we know that God fulfills us and that we have better things waiting for us. We can live in a more joyful and unafraid existence. We have a greater hope, which inspires and compels us to live differently now. So I want you to do me this favor. Next time you see something beautiful in nature, whether it's a sunset, forest, whatever, have a great conversation with somebody, or learn something new and exciting. The next time you taste something that is delicious, the next time you have a time where you connect with God deeply in your quiet time, reading the Bible or praying or just talking about him, think of it as a foretaste of what is to come, and allow it to point you to the goodness and creativity of God. C.S. Lewis in the Chronicles of Narnia says this, and this is how he ends the whole series. So if you haven't read it and you're going to, I'm sorry for ruining it, but this is the end of the book, end of the series. Basically, they got in a train accident, and they go to Narnia. What they realize is, at the end of the book, they realize they really are dead. And so, but this is their experience as they enter the new life. He says, their hearts leapt, and a wild hope rose within them. There was a real railway accident, said Aslan softly, and Aslan is the Christ maker. Your father and mother, and all of you are, as he used to call it in the Shadowlands, dead. The term is over. The holidays have begun. The dream is ended. This is the morning. And as he spoke, he no longer looked at them like a lion, but the things that began to happen after that were so great and beautiful that I cannot write them. And for us, this is the end of all the stories. And we can most truly say that they all lived happily ever after. But for them, it was only the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world and all their adventures in Narnia had only been the cover and the title page. Now at last, they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story, which no one on earth has read, which goes on forever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. And that, I believe, is what we have to look forward to, something so much better than we have now. So let me pray for us, and then I'm actually going to take a few questions, if you have any, about heaven. I've been studying it lately. It doesn't mean I have all the answers. Might not even have the right answers, but I'll do my best. So I will take about 5 minutes. Let me pray for us. Lord, I thank you for this time, and I thank you, God, that we have something so amazing and so great to look forward to, and that it literally can change the way that we live our 80 or 90 years here. God, we have something that we can only imagine in our wildest dreams, but it is true, and God, I just thank you for it. It is amazing. I pray that this tonight would just encourage people. I pray that people would walk away more in love with you and seeking you more, pursuing you more, and looking forward more to spending eternity with you, and also making the most of our time here and enjoying the blessings that you've given us here and having them point us to you. I pray this in Jesus' holy name, made it possible. Amen. All right, so does anybody have any questions about things I said, about heaven in general? Yeah, right there.
Somebody asked me the other day, do animals go to heaven?
That's a great question. In other words, if an animal here dies, does their soul go to heaven? Is that what you're saying? Or are you asking, are animals going to be in heaven?
I think one person asked me if animals here.
Okay. The answer, I do not know for sure. Scripture doesn't say they don't. And actually, it's really interesting. I can give you more information about this. I would say probably not. We're the only ones made in God's image. But I would leave the door open to say possibly, but I do not. But probably not. In terms of are there going to be animals in heaven, I would say yes. Because in Isaiah, when it talks about the new heaven and new earth, it talks about all the animals getting along with each other. And then I think there's one more. Yeah, and then it also makes sense because they were created on the first earth, so it makes sense that they would continue on the next earth as well. There would still be animals. But in terms of their soul, I'd say most Christians would say no. I would leave the door open.
How do human interactions change from on earth to heaven?
How do human interactions change from on earth to heaven? Well, I mean, what we know is there's no more pain, there's no more sorrow, there's no more sadness, so no more tears. So whatever we do, we don't hurt each other anymore, and we're actually sinless there. Here, we have what we call the flesh, which is, even though if you're a Christian, you're saved, okay? But we still have the flesh with us, which causes us to sin, or tempts us to sin at the very least. There, that will be gone. So we will no longer be sinful, so human interaction will be perfect.
Will we still love each other?
We will still love each other, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I would say it would make sense to say that, but I don't. But we will love each other as most capable as we could. Yeah. And we'll be in God's presence as well. And yeah.
Like, how do we deal with the people that are in hell?
Okay, that's a great question. Do we what?
Do we forget
Okay, how do we deal with people in hell if there's no sadness? I would say the best answer I have to that, it's actually interesting. If you read the end of Isaiah, the very last verses in Isaiah, chapter 66, it talks about how the people, I don't know if it's the intermediate heaven or the new heaven and new earth, actually look down on the people in hell. So they actually see them, which is interesting. If you look at Revelation, I don't know the chapter, but it talks about the soul, in chapter 7, the souls that are in heaven, the intermediate heaven, they are the martyrs for the faith, and they actually know what's going on on earth. Okay? But I believe that when we are in God's presence, in the new heaven and the new earth, the reason people are in hell is because God is just and perfect. And I think when we're in His presence, His justice is going to our love for His justice is going to far outweigh any sadness that we would have, because everybody that is in hell, it is a perfectly right, just decision by God. Does that make sense? That's my best answer. And I'm not saying these are going to be satisfactory answers. Yeah.
If someone were to go to hell, would they go to hell like after they die or like after judgment?
That's a great question. I think even now, I would say they would probably go to hell. And after the judge, everybody is judged though, and then they would be thrown. I'm not positive. I think it's hell and Hades are thrown in the lake of fire. I'm not positive on that one. But yeah, they would, even now, just like we would be in an intermediate heaven, they would be in hell now. Their souls would be. And I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't remember if their bodies are reunited as well. I think they are. Okay. If you make it, yeah. So if the earth is new, is the heaven new as well? I would say Second Peter actually says, it says that, actually I have it here, I'll read it. Second Peter talks about the new earth, the old earth. Oh yeah, it says that the current earth and heavens will be destroyed by fire. And so now the reason I don't think it means destroyed like out of existence, because before that in 2 Peter, he talks about how the waters destroyed the earth in the time of Noah, destroyed, but obviously the earth was still here, it was just renovated basically. So I think the new heavens will be renovated just like the earth is. I don't know what that's going to look like. It doesn't really say much about it. But if the earth is new and renovated, it talks about the same thing happening to the heaven that happens to the earth. That they're both destroyed and made new. So it makes sense that they would both be brand new. I don't know if they'll still have planets and stars, and because we'll be in our heavenly bodies, we'll be able to explore outer space. That's a possibility, but yeah. And real quick, back to the question over here about people going to hell. In Luke 16, Jesus talks about the rich man and Lazarus. Some people feel it's a parable, some people don't. But both of them, the rich man who went to hell, went right to hell, and the other man who went to heaven, or they call it Abraham's bosom of paradise, went right there, and they had interaction with each other. So both of them went right after their death.
What about babies?
What about babies? Okay, that's a good one. That's a tough one, and I'll just share. We don't know, okay? But I'll say two things about it. One, there's a great verse. Yes, there's a great verse in 2 Samuel 12:23, where David talking to, I think he's praying to the Lord, and he said, because his child died, David sleeps with Bathsheba, David sleeps with Bathsheba, God kills their baby as part of his punishment. The baby dies, and David says, "You will not come back to me, but I will go to you where you are." So that's either the grave, it could be talking about the grave. Some people feel he's talking about the afterlife. So it's 2 Samuel 12:23. So that's a possibility that babies do go to heaven. The other possibility is that God knows what the child if they would have chosen him or not. That's just a possibility. Then the other interesting thing is that every time children are mentioned, especially by Jesus, they're mentioned in a positive light. So like, you have faith like a child, or be humble like a child. Children are very favored by Christ, and so doesn't mean they don't go to heaven, but different people now. That's a good question.
What about someone with like a mental handicap that can't like understand it?
Mental handicap, I'd say kind of the same probably category as children. I don't know. Do they age?
Yeah, and like what age would you be?
That's a good question. As I was reading, actually, a lot it's odd. Actually, I didn't think there would be an answer to this, and there's really not. But a lot of people believe you'd be roughly mid-20s, early 30s, because that's your ideal time in life, basically, physically. But we don't know. But you asked what our bodies are going to be like. Is that right? The only example we have is Jesus, because he had his resurrected body. The souls in heaven in Revelation did not have their bodies reunited with them yet. So Jesus was still recognizable. He still ate, actually. And I think we're going to eat in heaven. And which is good. And I think, but he ate, and people recognized him. He could walk through walls. So he kind of had the best of both worlds. But that's the only that I can think of example of a resurrected body. And the best place to read about it is 1 Corinthians 15, where it talks about a resurrected body and just how it dies corruptible and it raises incorruptible. And what it dies as is totally different than what it's going to raise as in terms of its power and ability to do things. But I do think we'll be recognized. So, maybe one or two more. Sorry if these aren't too satisfactory. Any couple more? Yeah.
There be marriage,
Well,
and then also there be procreation.
Oh, that's a good one. I wish there was marriage in heaven, but I don't think there will be. Because Jesus says, when they ask him that question, he says, no, there's not going to be marriage in heaven. But I do, so I don't think there will be procreation, which means no, I don't think there will be sex. But I think sex is given to us. If you read Ephesians 5, it's given to us as a picture of the unity between Christ and the church. So the only marriage in heaven will be between us and Christ. Okay? Not that we're not going to have sex with him, but it's the idea of intimacy. That's going to be the greatest intimacy. And procreation, I would say no.
Like more children.
I don't think there's going to be more children because of that. That doesn't mean God can't create another way or whatever, but it's pretty clear that we don't marry in heaven. Anything else with that? Okay, one more. Is there possible to be another rebellion? Yeah, it's a good question. I would say no. Actually, okay. If you read, there's different opinions on the 1,000-year reign of Christ. So we're in the intermediate heaven now. Okay, when Christ returns, the Bible talks about him setting up a 1,000-year reign on earth, the present earth. Now, some people take it literally, some do not. Okay, either way. There's a rebellion at the end of that 1,000 years. So if you don't take it literally, then it really doesn't matter. But if you take the 1,000 years literally, then yes, there will be a rebellion. But after that is when the new heaven and new earth start. And in there can be no rebellion. The reason, I think the difference between Adam and Eve and us, I have it written down here somewhere. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. Adam and Eve were innocent, but they were not made righteous. Does that make sense? We were made righteous by Jesus. And so there's a difference with us. I do think we will still have a free will, but just because you have a free will doesn't mean you have the ability to do something. So in other words, like I right now cannot turn into an animal, right? But I have a free. If you think I have a free will right now, I still can't do certain things. Just like God has a free will, He cannot sin. Does that make sense? So we will not want to sin, and I don't even think we'll be capable of it because we've been bought with the blood of Christ. That's kind of okay. That's pretty much it. So if you do have questions or if many of the questions I've answered are not satisfactory, or not talking more, that's totally fine. So that's pretty much it. The worship team can go on up. Sorry. You guys go out there, we're gonna do one song. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. You guys can grab a seat. Alright, just a couple administrative things. Did anyone lose orange earbuds? Actually? Alright. Well, if you lost them, we'll put this in a pile of sunglasses and really old school headphones. Over here. Okay, and also, you guys can grab the glow stick, not right now, but when we're done here, pick them up. We want to leave this place nice. We
we like are representing God here as a Christian group. We don't want the people think to make a mess of the home. So go grab those glow sticks on the way out. They're complimentary. Take them, give them to your friends. On to you. Target. I know. Don't take it down. All right, but thank you guys so much for coming. We're really excited that you're all here. Again, next week it's be 7 o'clock, so an hour earlier. It's like daylight savings time, so daylight free time. So just come up, set your clocks back an hour for crew. Come at 7 o'clock out to the park over across from Yellowberry, and we'll have some desserts for people bringing footballs and frisbees, fun stuff. 7 o'clock at the park next week. Everyone, good luck on finals. Start studying soon, and then have a real good summer. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.